Hi, I'm Novi Iman. Welcome to the Nano PAMS program. Have you ever wondered why some innovation takes up very quickly while others fail miserably? In this video, I will be talking about the diffusion of innovation. Basically, we can categorize innovation into two broad categories. The first one is incremental innovation, and the second one is radical innovation. Incremental innovation is about refining things. It's about minor changes. It's about reinforcing the current strengths of the products or the technologies. It usually doesn't require too much skills or resources, but it tends to give a very significant economic consequences. On the other hand, radical innovation is about developing new things. It will require a new set of skills, new set of resources, and even new sets of knowledge. If done properly, it will open new market for the company. But for certain firms, it is very difficult for them to develop radical innovation like this. Even though it can be a basis for successful market entry or even redefine the structure of the industry, it requires different set of capabilities to develop radical innovation. So, before embarking a new innovation, you have to think very carefully. Are you going to develop an incremental innovation, or are you going to develop a radical innovation? Those two will require different set of strategies, different set of resources, and different set of capabilities. Incremental innovation, as I said just a moment ago, is about the reinforcing of the capabilities of the organization. On the other hand, radical innovation is about asking new questions, developing new things that has never been existed before. Radical innovation is about drawing on new technical and commercial skills. It also about employing new techniques. It also about employing new problem-solving approach. So incremental and radical innovations are requiring two different organizational capabilities. Before we move on to the diffusion of innovation, one thing that you should think about is the notion of dominant design. Essentially, every product or every technologies is not coming out of the blue and being fully developed 100%. Instead, it is a result of great experimentation over a long period of time. So you have to think about the dominant design of your products or your technology. If you are on the stage before dominant design, then you can think about alternative technologies. You can think about alternative knowledge or architectural structure of your products or technologies. But after dominant design, you cannot do much about it. Instead, what you can focus on now is about enhancing the dominant design. It's about perfecting the dominant design. So before dominant design was established, you can focus on radical innovation. But after dominant design has been established, you can focus on incremental innovation. Now let's move on to the diffusion of innovations. The main elements of diffusion of innovations are the innovation that is communicated through different channels over time among the member of social system. So there are four different keywords here. The first one is the innovation, the second one is communication channel, the third one is time, and the fourth one is the member of a social system. When we are talking about an innovation, as I said in our first video, every innovation usually consists of two different things: the physical artifact or the hardware and the digital artifact or the software. The characteristic of an innovation, both digital and physical materials, hardware and software, as perceived by a member of social system, will determine the speed of its adoption. And the 5 attributes of innovation that are perceived by the users are relative advantage, compatibility, complexity, trialability, and observability. Essentially, the potential users will think about the relative advantage of new products or new innovation compared to the old one. They want to know whether new products is compatible or not compatible with their lives. The more complex of a new innovation, usually the willingness to adopt new innovation will also decrease. If they can try the product or the innovation, and they can observe the potential benefit of that product or that innovation, then the willingness to adopt new innovation will also increase. Those are the attributes of innovations that are usually being perceived by the users. Now, what about communication channels? As a member of social systems, we can categorize our communication channels into two broad categories. The first one is homophily, or those who have similar characteristics with us, and two, heterophily, those who are having different characteristics or different background compared to us. In promoting new innovation, interestingly, we will rely much on the homophily rather than heterophily. That's why it is very important for an organization to think about the homophily or heterophily in the social systems. If we want to use homophily, then we should identify the change agent in that social systems. But if we want to use heterophily as well, then we can combine it with advertisement or other marketing activities to influence the willingness of the users to adopt that kind of products or innovation. Now, what about time? The innovation decision process itself will be divided into 5 different stages. The first stage is knowledge, the second stage is persuasion, the third stage is decision, the fourth stage is implementation, and the final stage is confirmation. Finally, when we think about the innovators' rate of adoption, we can also categorize our potential users or our potential market into 5 different categories as well. The first one is what we call the innovators, which consists of about 2.5% of the market. And then it followed by the early adopters, which consists of about 13.5% of the market. The next category is what we call early maturity, which consists of about 34%. At this moment, we have reached the 50% of the market. The next categories will be the late maturity, which consists of about 34% of the market. And finally, we will be having the laggards, which consists of about 16% of the market. So, why do we have to think about these different categories? We have to pay attention especially to the innovators category and the early maturity category. Because if we are not paying attention to the innovators and to the early maturity, then the possibility of our product will take up and will be adopted by the larger number of the population or the larger number of the market will be decreasing. That's why it is very important for us to develop an appropriate strategy for appropriate target market and appropriate stage of adoption. And last but not least, we have to think about the outcome of the innovation itself. In some cases, innovation decision will be optional. It is up to the user or up to the market to adopt or not to adopt the innovation. In some cases, the innovation decision will be collective. For example, if your family decided to use Facebook or to use WhatsApp to communicate between the member of the family, then you will be forced to use the same application as well. That's what we call by collective innovation decision. And the third outcome is authority innovation decisions. These innovation decisions will be forced by a legitimate institutions like your government or like your schools or like your office, a place where you work and things like that. For example, at your school you have to adopt a particular software or a particular application to support your learning activities during a semester. Those kind of things is called authority innovation decisions. I hope these videos will give you an introduction of what is digital business strategy, how should we develop digital business strategy, what kind of things that we should really pay attention to, and what are the dynamics behind the digital technology and digital innovation. Thank you for watching these videos. I hope you enjoy the program, and I look forward to see you anytime soon. Stay safe, stay healthy.